Hello, I am Gómez-Jordana, and I'm going to present this paper called Illustrating Changes in Landscapes of Passing Opportunities Along a Set of Competitive Football Matches. The first thing is this is an already published article, so if you search the name of this presentation, you're going to find the article. And we were basically interested in how passes available change for a team over different games and other conditions that I will explain in a bit. So, passing opportunities. As a ball carrier moves around the field, passing opportunities emerge due to his own movement, but also due to the movement of defenders trying to cut passing lanes and off-ball players trying to get open. This suggests at any given moment a rich set of passing opportunities open for the ball carrier, what can be conceptualized as a landscape of passing opportunities. We also believe that the threat is very important for passing opportunities, as defensive teams are going to be more willing to cut lines that are more threatening for them. To conceptualize this threat, we use the outplay principle that basically says measures how many players are in between me and my own goal, how many players of the opposing team. So we here have two players. We have B and A. B has two players, the two strikers in between him and his own goal. So he's outplaying two players, while A is outplaying 7 players. We have 7 players in between him and his own goal. We believe that this player will be generating more threat than a player that's outplaying less players. Okay, so the data we have is 5 matches of the second division, of the Spanish second division. We focus on one team against 5 of his competitors, and it was bidimensional data measured with an opto-tracking system. So our model evaluates all potential receivers for the ball carrier 5 times per second. Here we have a ball carrier, the white dot, a potential receiver, the blue dot. We have a passing lane, and now we want to know if the defense in the vicinity can intercept the passing lane. To do so, we create these kind of figures that basically what they assume is that a player is moving faster, he covers more space, but he has more problems to turn in. As we can see, a player that is moving slower is covering less space, but he can turn easier around. So now if we assume that the end of these figures is where the player takes 1 second to arrive, we can then, using these lines, know how long the player will take to arrive to each of these points in the line. Then, using a model of the ball, in our case we just use a constant speed, 10 meters per second, we can know how long the ball will take to the same point. So in top we're going to see the time the ball takes, in the bottom the player, what the player takes to arrive there. And as we can see, the ball arrives faster than the player here, the same for this point. So in this case, if we only had these 2 interception points, then the pass will be open. But if we have a situation like this one, where the defender takes less time than the ball, we can assume that the pass could be intercepted. So then, but we build this kind of polygons, basically using the ball carrier, the potential receiver, and the 2 nearest defenders. And the landscapes are built by adding over time the polygons that we find with these figures. We further divide the passes using the outplay principle. So we divide them into 3 groups. So going back to the situation, we have the ball carrier that is outplaying 2 players. So if he makes a pass to a player that is outplaying the same amount of players as himself, he's making a support pass. If he's retreating, making a pass to a player that is outplaying less players than himself, he's making a retreat pass. And if he's passing to a player that is outplaying more players than himself, he's making a penetrative pass. Okay, so now I'm going to show an example of how the model works. We are going to see 2 types of lines, solid lines and dashed lines. Solid lines correspond to passes to the actual position of the player, dashed lines to the future position of the player. And in the bottom part, here in the bottom part, we can see how the heat maps are being built by overlapping these polygons. Okay. We have 2 types of results: temporal results and spatial results. Temporal ones are related to how long the passes were available, and spatial to where the passes were available. So for temporal results, we find, as we were expecting, that penetrative passes were available for shorter time periods than the rest of the passes. This is because they were generating probably more threat for the opposing team. But then we find that retreat passes are available for shorter time periods compared to support passes. So we believe this could be related to a high pressing strategy. The opposing team is cutting easy passes to the rear in order to force the team into taking tougher decisions and making riskier passes. Furthermore, the time availability varies along different games, with the first game having longer times than the other four. This is probably related to the first game having a red card in minute 65, which will have led to longer times just because there were less players to defend and more passing lanes open. So now with the spatial results, here we have the five games for the three types, and the color corresponds to how long were these areas open for passes. Two things I want you to see from here. First, data out of passes from the goalkeeper. Here we see two other players in near him, because this team used the goalkeeper as an infield player. It's one of these teams like Spain in the past or Barcelona. And the other thing is this team was a weak offensive team that in these maps is expressed by the team having outer problems getting into the opposing field. Most of the passes are in its own field or in the midfield, except for maybe the first game where we see a bit more passes in the opposing field. But the question is still raised of how different these heat maps are. So for this, we use the Earth movers distance that tell us the distance in between two images. So higher values means more distance, the images are more different, and lower values mean the images are the same, are more similar, sorry. So here we see the comparison of the five games to each other for penetrative pass, support pass, and retreat passes. And we can see that the fifth game is more different to the other ones, okay? We think this is a promised method to compare heat maps, and basically that. But still, if we go back here, there is a lot of information in these heat maps, and sometimes it's difficult to know what's actually going on. For this, to solve this, we could use specific heat maps of specific players, or specific plays, specific outcomes, etc., or specific times, to just see what is the ongoing dynamics of the game. So in here we see three heat maps of the first half of 10 minutes each. And in the start, we see that they have out of passes in the center midfield and the right midfield, but not out of passes in the opposing field again. And there is a little bit more passes in the last 10 minutes, but they seem to lose a bit of control over the midfield. While in the last 10 minutes, we see a complete collapse of the pass availability for this type of passes, the penetrative passes. So basically, we believe that we depicted passing opportunities in football matches, although with our limitations, obviously. Specific heat maps help and build in-game dynamics. We show specific times, but you could use also specific players, etc. And threat is influencing the time passes were available. Just to end, some potential improvements. We are at the moment working with constant ball speed and a defender constant speed. We could work with a more physics-based model, a kinematic model of the ball and the defenders. And also, we could take into account individual characteristics. Right now, we don't have individual characteristics, but we could include awareness, the size of the players, how fast they can run, etc. And finally, we could change how passes are marked as available. Right now, we mark either the pass is not available or is available. We could work more with a scale from 0 to 1 of how open is the pass. And thanks for listening. I will say it again, you should search the article if you are interested in anything that we said here. And you can go also to this repository where we have a data sample. We also have routines, MATLAB routines to analyze the data, to create the heat maps, the videos, etc. Thanks a lot for listening.